Hey everybody, welcome back. It's me again, your host, Ed Carbajal. You can follow me on Twitter, @Carbazal. This is the Carbazal MMA podcast for May 14th, the day of UFC 198 and Bellator 154. Happy Saturday. Please excuse my voice and my throat and the lateness of this podcast because I got sick this week, so I'm really sorry about that. Pretty hectic Saturday. I trying to round up a guest, and I think I got one. Daniel Zaldivar, the boxing analyst of Page 2 Sports, Z Boxing News, and over with me at frontproofmedia.com. He's going to call in, and we're just going to do a quick breakdown of like the main fights and the main card of UFC 198, and then I'll do the main event of Bellator 154 because that card had so much trouble getting together with Josh Thompson getting injured in his fight with Michael Chandler being pulled out. Obviously the tragic incident with Jordan Parsons, may he rest in peace. His opponent, actually, Adam Piccolotti, is still fighting, but he's fighting a gentleman by the name of Ray Wood as an alternate, obviously, with what happened to Parsons a couple of weeks ago. It's good that he's still fighting, but it seems it's definitely a heavy heart. There's a dark cloud over that event, so it's going to be sad, especially when that fight happens. The good news is Bellator actually just released a press release saying that they're going to have a Jordan Parsons fund. It's like a scholarship for choosing a youth to go to a wrestling camp. I haven't read all the details on it, but it'll be up on Frontproof Media soon, along with this podcast and the predictions for UFC 198. It'll be up with the article there as well on frontproofmedia.com. So while we're waiting for Daniel to call in, I'll give you the quick and dirty of what I think is going to happen for Bellator 154 between King Mo, Muhammad Lawal, and Phil Davis. So those two men are both tournament winners. If you remember, Phil Davis made it through the tournament at Dynamite 1 to become that tournament champion, and he was supposed to face Liam McGeary next. I don't know what happened contractually or if injuries played a part in it. Excuse me, again, I'm sorry, I'm getting over a cold. But not long after that, King Mo was also in that tournament, and he had to withdraw. He won his match, but he had to withdraw the following round because of an injury. So he fought a tournament again in the Rizin's inaugural New Year's Eve event, and he actually won that tournament. So both men hold a tournament belt. It makes for a good matchup because you have one tournament winner in the same weight class for light heavyweight, one tournament winner from Rizin and one tournament winner from Bellator facing each other for a chance to fight undefeated light heavyweight champion Liam McGeary. He was actually at the weigh-ins, which I thought was cool. I'm a Liam McGeary fan, so I think most of the stuff he does is cool, especially that inverted triangle that he taps people with. Been trying to hit that off myself. But anyway, between the two of them, I mean, both guys are resilient. Both come from the wrestling world, and I think I'm leaning towards Phil Davis, not because of his affiliation with the UFC or anything like that, only because he seems to have more finishes to his records, in his overall fight career. I mean, in the tournament especially, he finished both guys to move forward, and no offense to King Mo, because I actually like him a lot as a competitor. If you look at how active he is, he's probably one of the more active light heavyweight / heavyweight MMA fighters in the last couple of years. I mean, he fights often and a lot, and even when he suffers a loss, he gets right back in there, and I think that comes from his wrestling pedigree. So no offense to King Mo, because if he wins, I'm actually not going to be upset about it. I think a fight between either of these men, Phil Davis or King Mo versus Liam McGeary, is going to be an excellent title fight, and So good luck to both of them. But I'm leaning towards Phil Davis just because of recent, what I saw recently. Although, I mean, that being said, King Mo did finish one of his opponents, I think his last opponent, in the Ryzen tournament as well. So it's really hard to call. I mean, not for nothing, when you look at both cards, they're both pretty hard to call, especially the UFC 198 card in Brazil. I mean, I have predictions. The article is just going to be for the main event between Fabricio Werdum and Stipe Miocic, but I don't know. I mean, the matchups are so good. I can't even try to say with confidence that one fighter will win, with the exception of Leslie Smith's a tough girl, but the fight between Leslie Smith and Christiane Cyborg Justino, it's her Cyborg's first fight in the UFC, so in her home country, so she's got home field advantage. This is the lightest she's ever fought at. She weighed in at 139, and so did Leslie Smith. They're supposed to be fighting at a catch weight of 140. The fact that she came so close to 135, a lot of people are going to want her to fight Ronda Rousey or fight for Miesha Tate or somebody at 135. She didn't seem like the cut bothered her. She looked strong. I mean, she seemed very focused. She didn't look drained or anything like that. I want to say she didn't look drained, but I mean, I'd have to watch the weigh-in footage again. It doesn't seem like she had a very bad cut. And then the articles this morning, the day of the event, are saying she's going to be walking in the cage tonight at 168 pounds. So that's like, how much of a weight difference is that, and how healthy is that, and how, stuff like that wears on your body. I mean, all this talk about weight cutting and stuff and rules and doing it smart. I mean, there's all these rules popping up in the news this week just with implementing weight cuts and people cutting weight smartly. So we'll see. I mean, that's a tough lady, and she's been winning for a good while now, so we'll see how she does. Leslie Smith is also a tough lady. If you remember, she had her ear punched almost all clean off her head, and she still wanted to keep fighting. So don't count her out just because of Cyborg's reputation. These fights are good. These fights are really good tonight. So just waiting for Daniel to call in. We were actually talking about the Conor McGregor versus Floyd Mayweather nonsense floating around the internet, and I saw that he had time to talk, so I said, why don't you call in to the podcast? So let's wait on Daniel and see what he has to say. We're going to talk about that real quick, and then we'll do a quick breakdown of UFC 198 for you. While we're waiting, really quick, I want to tell you about a website called combatdocket.com. It's a calendar of all combat sports, whether you're a boxing fan or an MMA fan or glory kickboxing, submission grappling. If it's something like a fight and that you want to see, go to combatdocket.com and they'll have a downloadable calendar for you to add to your iPhone or your Android phone. As long as you're logged into your account, you go to the website, you click on it, and it'll attach to your phone. It's a pretty cool idea that just a couple of people in the MMA community on the internet came up with, and now they made the website and put it together for all you guys to check out and keep track of all your favorite combat sports and promotions. And he's actually took the time out to separate boxing from it if you're just a boxing fan. So it's really cool. Please go check it out. combatdocket.com. Okay, so I got Daniel Zaldivar on the phone of Z Boxing News and boxing analyst for Frontproofmedia.com. How you doing, Daniel?
What's up, man? Thank you for having me, and can't wait to talk some boxing and some MMA news, man.
Well, I mean, I know we're doing this kind of out of the blue, but we were just talking in our virtual office about the whole nonsense with Conor McGregor and Floyd Mayweather. So was that last night that Mayweather said that?
Yeah, it was yesterday, Friday night. Showtime had a Showbox edition event and stuff. They're latest Showtime boxing event. I think it was over there in DC. But Mayweather was there. Of course, he has a close relationship with TBS and Showtime and stuff like that. So he was there sitting ringside and stuff like that. And he was interviewed by Steve Farhood in between like intermission or something. And then he was asked about the situation with McGregor, and he said that he believes the fight absolutely will happen, and that was like his quote is absolutely. So I mean, at this point, especially with these two guys and their respective sports, how good they are at promoting fights leading up to these events. I mean, it's hard to tell if these guys are just kind of toying with us, or if they're actually serious about it. But I mean, he said it yesterday. He said that he thinks the fight will absolutely happen, and then he even went as far as to state, "Well, we haven't picked the venue yet, and we haven't talked about money, but." I mean, I wouldn't be surprised if these guys had talked already, like on the side, like about it, and like if Dana White maybe has kind of chimed in, and I don't know, either they're having a really good chance of messing with everybody, or this could happen because I mean, like we talked about it in our virtual office, it's going to produce a lot of money, regardless if it happens. So
yeah,
I mean, who knows?
Yeah, no, I mean, definitely would. I mean, I would watch it even knowing. I mean, it's. I don't think it'll ever happen because if they do agree on it, then they're going to argue over rules. Obviously, Mayweather's not going to want to fight under any kind of MMA rules. McGregor. I mean, he seems more agreeable to going under boxing rules, but he's also. I think he's fallen in love with his own hype, considering he wants to fight Nate Diaz again and what happened last time. So. Being that the case that he falls in love with his own hype, I think he actually thinks he can outbox a boxer, let alone Floyd Mayweather. So I don't know. I don't see it happening, but I mean, like you said, if when we were talking earlier, we were both in agreement that money talks, and if enough money can be made off of it and put into it, then they'll find a way to make it happen. It's not like it's never happened before. If you look at the Hector Franco's article on Frontproof Media, he mentioned the Antonio Inoki Muhammad Ali thing, but that would be like the last time it happened, and I think that happened in Japan, so that probably helped with the rule set and making an event too. But I don't know. I mean, like you said, they're both talkers, and they can promote themselves, verbally. Anywhere, it seems. So I don't know. I mean, do you think Mayweather should stay retired?
I mean, honestly, like I just because like at least in boxing, I'm sure it's happening in MMA with like Chuck Liddell and stuff like that. Like you guys say like, oh yeah, I'm retired and I'm done and stuff like that. But they get an inclination to come back, or they get presented with different offers of money or this and that, and they're just like, oh, maybe I'll come back for one more, And Mayweather, like, he loves the spotlight. He really does. He already knows how to handle it, and he knows how to manipulate it. I mean, what is this, the second or third time he's actually retired in the last, like, 7-8 years? I think he retired after the De La Hoya fight.
Oh.
He retired for like a year and a half, and then he came back, and then I think he fought Ricky Hatton, or was it Marquez? I think he fought Marquez, I want to say. He came back and he fought Marquez, or something like that. But, I mean, in terms of my opinion on him staying retired, honestly, I wouldn't want us to see, I would want to see at least 2 more fights, just because, you don't, regardless of what people think about the guy, like, he's a ridiculously tremendous boxer. He really is. Regardless of what his personality is and stuff, the guy he's going to be regarded as one of the best in the sport, regardless of what you think of him. He might not be entertaining to some casual fans and stuff like that, but I mean, his boxing skills are ridiculous. And like in 5 years, if there's not another Mayweather or anybody who can take that mantle, then people are going to be like, oh man, I wish he was still here. Because regardless, people tune in to watch him. And he's an entertaining guy, so I would personally want to see him back. But I mean, if he stays retired, then at least he keeps his word. And I mean, I wouldn't be mad if he stayed retired right now. I mean, he's already kind of did what he has to do in the sport, and he's made his ridiculous amount of money. But I mean, if he comes back, then you either have to fight Pacquiao one more time, because that's the biggest moneymaker you can, or then you fight McGregor. I mean, everybody was surprised when McGregor's name was thrown out there and this hype began. But I mean, both of those guys you're going to make the most money with. And I would argue that McGregor would actually probably make more money because you'd have boxing fans, MMA fans, and casual fans tuning in to watch that. So yeah. I mean, I don't know. It's a toss-up. They could be playing with our heads, and who knows? I mean, it's a big ordeal right now.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think it's that big. I think it's just them trying to mull us all kind of lead us on. It's the beginning, summer's coming right around the corner, and somebody, there's something that fans need to jump on. I don't see it happening. I mean, when you and I were talking earlier, before I asked you to call in, I was bringing up the contractual stuff, and I think everybody is just trying to, it's clickbait. So everyone will get eyes on them somehow, just to just to make bring attention or make a little money or whatever the case may be. But I forgot who you said the guy named that asked him last night, but he was specifying the fight being in the ring. And like I said, that goes along the lines with the rules. He was trying to knock a fight in the cage, because obviously if it's in the cage, then it's MMA rules. And I doubt Mayweather, at this point in his career, wants to start learning how to defend a takedown or check a kick or anything like that. You know what I mean? So I think it's all just speculation and mind games and stuff like that. But so what fights are you watching tonight? Are you going to watch UFC 198 or is there boxing going on tonight?
No, I mean, I was gonna have UFC 198, and then of course the beauty of technology, you can watch multiple things at one time. So I was gonna have my computer streaming some boxing events, and then having 198 on my TV. So yeah, I'll catch both of them. So that's the beauty part about technology. But I think it's a pretty good card. It's in Brazil, right? That's where they're having the card tonight. Yeah,
it's actually like hardcore MMA fans are loving this card, even with the removal of Anderson Silva and Uriah Hall. Anderson Silva had a gallbladder issue and had to have surgery like the middle of this week, which sucks. I mean, for that fight, because that was one of the fights I was really looking forward to. But even with that removed, the card is still really good because there's a lot of, right down to the prelims, even the Fight Pass prelims. I mean, there's a lot of like good fights on there. But
if they have I think I read somewhere that their attendance is going to be really, really high for this one. Is that right?
Yeah, it's in a soccer stadium in Curitiba, and they had, just for the weigh-ins yesterday, they had between 15,000 and 20,000 people there just for the weigh-ins, which I think broke a record somewhere for weigh-ins ever in combat sports.
Right.
Or almost broke, right? I have no idea, but I mean, it's definitely a big deal over there. I mean, obviously MMA, before it was called MMA, was going on. If you look at the days of Hickson Gracie and stuff like that, and when they had just no holds barred fights in boxing rings with no gloves or anything, before the unified rules and the regulated stuff that we're watching tonight. But if you look at the main card, if Daniel Zaldivar goes to pick his fantasy MMA picks, we'll start with the ladies, Chris Cyborg and Leslie Smith. Who would you put on your fantasy MMA?
Like, you mean who am I picking as the winner?
Yeah.
I mean, I think you'd be stupid not to pick Cyborg in this one. I mean, it's not to say that Leslie Smith isn't a solid competitor. Anybody who steps in the octagon or any type of boxing ring or what have you, I mean, you got to give them the props. It's a difficult sport regardless of which one you step in. But Cyborg, I think, majority of her wins, I think 13 of her 15 professional MMA wins are by like knockout. So I mean, that's scary right there. Only 2 of them weren't by knockout, and I want to say Smith has kind of almost split her wins. I think she's like 8 and 6. Don't quote me on that, but I think she had something around there. Like she's kind of split her wins and losses.
Yeah.
I mean, we've seen crazier stuff happen in sports. If it's Smith, gets the upset, then that's going to be huge.
Yeah,
that's
especially in Brazil, yeah.
Because, I mean, of course, Cyborg's name has been elevated because, Ronda Rousey and Holly Holm and stuff like that. They want to see Cyborg fight those fighters and stuff like that. So everybody's watching, expecting Cyborg to win, and I am as well. She's a beast. I think she trains down here in San Diego, over here in SoCal.
Yeah, she does.
But I mean, I think you'd be crazy not to pick Cyborg. And then, I wanted to ask you, of course, I'm assuming you think she'll take the W as well, but if she does, who do you think her following fight would be?
Well, you know what? That's already started up with her weigh-in yesterday because everybody was giving her a negative flack for not making 135, and when she weighed in yesterday, the fight was set at 140. She weighed in at 139. She's only 4 pounds over 135 to fight Miesha Tate and Ronda Rousey and fight for the bantamweight title. I mean, before that happened, I thought because this is her first UFC fight, and I'm thinking, maybe they want to make a featherweight division, a 145 division, because that's where she holds the title in Invicta. So I'm thinking maybe they're bringing her in just to get some feedback from numbers after the pay-per-view and what type of fan she draws in. But now, after she came so close to 135, which was, that was just like a big win for her, aside from, because she got a lot of people saying she'll never make the weight, and 139 is really close to 135, but then you got to wonder how hard was the cut. How did it affect her physically? She didn't look drained or tired, but she was definitely focused. She didn't take her eyes off of Leslie Smith. But speaking of Leslie Smith, my brother and I were talking about cauliflower ear on Mother's Day. We were talking about cauliflower ear, and he was asking me, do you ever see it a lot on women? And I said, yeah, and I brought up Leslie Smith's fight where her ear almost came off in the fight. You can find the GIF and everything online. And but she wanted to keep fighting, so she's a really tough lady. I don't think it's going to be an easy win, but then again, depending on the weight cut and how it affected Chris Cyborg, I'm picking her to win too. And then, but the co-main event is actually Vitor Belfort and Jacare Souza. I don't know if you're familiar with Jacare. Vitor Belfort's been around for a while, but
right, he's an older veteran, yeah.
Yeah, so who would you pick between those two?
Well, honestly, I know they're only a couple years apart. I know Vitor Belfort is, of course, the more recognized name, and he's an older veteran. But you know why I would choose how do you pronounce his name? Is it Jacare? That's a nickname, isn't it?
Jacare, yeah, it's Ronaldo, but Jacare means alligator because he does this whole alligator thing, yeah.
That's what it is. Yeah, I think that's a really cool nickname. But yeah, I'm picking Jacare just because I'm a huge fan of submission specialist, and this guy is a beast on the ground. He really is a beast on the ground. I want to say that most of his wins, I think more than half of his wins, are by submission, and that's scary, man. I don't care who you are when you see that. When you see that, then you're just like, oh man, this guy's, if you take it to the ground, then I'd get over. I don't think, of course, Belfort is a crafty veteran, and he's put in his time, and of course he knows his way around and stuff like that. I hope he doesn't show his age, but of course he's going to try to go for the KO because the majority of his wins are by knockouts. But I'm picking Jacare because I like submission specialists personally, man. When you can grapple somebody and take them down and just tap them out, I think a win like that is a lot more satisfying than a knockout. In my personal opinion. What about you?
No, you're me and you so far are in agreement with for both fights. For the same reason, obviously. I'm a jiu-jitsu guy. I love watching submissions, and actually some submissions that I try to pull off when I'm on the mats with the gi are one of the ones one of my favorite ones is from Jacare in one of his tournaments. So, and for me, it's a long time coming for him. He fought in Strikeforce. I just, like you said with Belfort too, he's been around for a while, but he's been around for a long while. Then you got the issues with the TRT and stuff that he had in the past.
Right. Right.
And the thing is, like, he does have a lot of knockouts, but if he doesn't get it in the first or second round, then it's pretty much not going to happen for him. But he still packs a wallop. I mean, he still has a puncher's chance of he can throw a spinning head kick or do one of those machine gun punches that he's caught a lot of people with. But I don't know. I don't think Jacare is going to fall for that. And if it does go past the second round, and obviously if it goes to the ground, I'm giving the edge to Jacare. And so me and you are both in agreement with picking him for the win. And then that kind of leads me into the main event, because I'm also picking Fabricio Werdum to keep his title for the same reason, because he always pulls a submission out of nowhere, especially when he's the underdog. And I feel like he's a little bit of the underdog against Stipe because of Stipe's high knockout rate compared to him.
Right. Yeah, I mean, I agree with you in picking what is it, Werdum?
Werdum, Fabricio Werdum.
I think he just has no race to win. I think his arsenal is a lot more open, and when he fights. And then from what I've seen, of course, in the past, stuff like that, his clinch attacks are really, really strong. Like, the guy, when he clinches, like, he's extremely good at it. So, like, if you get clinch with him, then, I mean, he's one of the guys in MMA that you do not want to be caught in a clinch with. You know what I mean?
Yeah, and he seems like he's gotten better, especially with that last fight against Kane.
Exactly. Yeah, I was just watching that the other day on YouTube. I was watching highlights of that. And, the guy, he seems like he's a very careful fighter, as opposed to what is it, Miocic? Yeah. Miocic, who he seems like he has really good boxing skills. So when you're standing up, he seems like he has really good boxing skills, and he seems like he's a lot more of a risk taker in the octagon. But I still think that Werdum is gonna take it, just because he just has more of an arsenal, and like you said, some people view him as the underdog in this fight and everything. But I just think that he has a lot more ways to win, which makes a fighter a lot more dangerous in a toe-to-toe battle, of course.
Yeah, definitely, man. Definitely. I mean, like I said, every time I thought he was going to lose, he's always managed to win. Especially, like, I always think about his fight with Fedor. He was such an underdog there, and everyone saw him losing, getting knocked out. Actually, I mean, that fight and then his fight against Kane, I thought he was going to lose that, and obviously the altitude thing, and then he called Kane. Every time I think he's going to lose, he submits the guy that I think he's going to lose to. So I'm done thinking he's going to lose, So, but yeah. So it looks like me and you are on the same page. It must have to do with us being Mexican.
That's exactly what I'm too,
but anyway, I appreciate you calling in, man. Thanks a lot. I'm actually going to attach this to the preview article I wrote for Frontproof. And didn't you put something up about the Mayweather thing too? That's kind of like why we started talking.
I did, yeah. I put up the interview with Mayweather from yesterday. It was on Showtime's YouTube channel, so I embedded it onto the site. So if people want to check it out, it's on frontproofmedia.com right now. So it's a really quick interview, probably like two or 3 minutes. Like I said, regardless if he's playing or not, like he's actually saying that he thinks the fight's absolutely going to happen. So I mean, take it with a grain of salt, I guess. But I mean, like, these guys, they seem like they're crazy enough to pull something off like this,
Yeah, agreed. All right, Daniel. Well, that's it. So thanks again for calling in, and I guess I'll talk to you in the virtual office.
You got it, man. I'll talk to you soon.
All right, so that was Daniel Zaldivar of Z Boxing News, and he's one of the boxing analysts over at frontproofmedia.com. You can check out that video again over at frontproofmedia.com. This podcast will be on my UFC 198 preview article there. And if you want to listen to any other older podcasts, he's been on here before, so you can catch that one and this one over at theblogboardjungle.com. And you can read both his boxing analysis and my MMA stuff at frontproofmedia.com. If you'd like to help out and donate to the podcast at all, go over to blogboardjungle.com when you want to make an Amazon purchase, or if you're a fan of Onnit supplements, and click on any of the Amazon or Onnit links there. And when you buy your stuff, you'll get what you need and you'll be helping us out without even knowing it. So thanks again for listening. Have fun watching the fights and take care. We'll see you next week.